Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. And yes, we are on location in the in the house because I can't venture very far. I'm trying to do my taxes, or at least get the stuff ready for the guy that'll do them. But I also will point out to you guys that I'm using a smaller coffee cup today, right? Because I've been drinking a lot of coffee lately because I've not been getting enough sleep, and then that kind of gets my heart sometimes going, ooh. So it's like I need to cut down on the coffee, right? So I'll drink out of a smaller coffee cup. Only don't think I'm drinking any less coffee because I'm still making as many pots a day. I think I'm just drinking more cups. Yeah, which is kind of what I want to talk about today. Change is inevitable, whether we like it or not. And change can be very necessary. So I'm reminded of this couple that I knew years ago. They were probably in their 60s or 70s at the time. And they both were chain smokers. And when I say chain smoker, I mean they'd be smoking one cigarette. And when it was getting close to done, they'd pull another one out, light it off that cigarette, stick it in their mouth too. So now they have two cigarettes hanging out of their mouth until this one is done. Then they're back down to one cigarette. And as it gets low, then they bring the next cigarette up, light it off that, put both of them in their mouths till the one's done, and on and on and on it would go basically all day long. And this was back in the days when it was still legal to smoke in buildings, in public buildings. Now, they smoked in their house like crazy, and it was a puff of blue smoke when they opened their front door. They should have had an enter at risk sign. Well, a day came when the wife was diagnosed with lung cancer. And she was like, "Oh no, doctor, this is terrible. What do I need to do?" And he said, "Well, the first thing is you need to quit smoking." She's like, they'd both been smoking since they were like 10 years old. I think it's what brought the two of them together. And I mean, it was so important to them. And she was like, "I don't know if I can do that." Now, you guys, she had to be put on oxygen. And they put up the no smoking signs, when they brought the oxygen out, told them they cannot smoke in the house with that oxygen going. She'd have that nasal cannula in and still be puffing away on that cigarette. I mean, it was scary. She didn't want to change anything about her life. Now, she did make one change. She found some supplements at the health food store that were supposed to help with different kinds of cancer. And so she did buy those to, try and get well. But, her doctor kept telling her, as long as you keep smoking, because that's what's causing the cancer to begin with, as long as you keep doing that, then any other precautions you take to try to get rid of the cancer are not going to work. But she didn't want anything to change. And she would talk about it. "Oh, I know I need to make change." And, people would always go, "Well, starting with quitting smoking." And then, boy, she was done there. She didn't want to talk about it anymore because that just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work for her. She needed to find a way to get rid of lung cancer and still be able to smoke. Well, she ended up passing away. Now, they were members of like a VFW or something like that, and they used to go down certain nights out of the week. They would go have dinner there and sit around, talk to their friends, and smoke their cigarettes because it was legal to smoke inside of buildings back then. Well, then that law came out that said you can't do it anymore. And he didn't like that because how was he going to go down there if he couldn't smoke? So even though the law changed, he would go in and light her up. Like everybody's just supposed to deal with it because this is what he does. This is how it's always been. Eventually, they kicked him out of there for good, banned him from being in the building at all. He could not pay all his bills because they no longer had her Social Security check, and everything was just, down to the dollar. Well, now his bills were more than what his income was, And so there was all kinds of things. He had different collectibles that people were interested in buying if he would sell them. No, he didn't want to sell them. Those were his favorite things. He had this old classic car that he never drove. It just sat in the driveway looking good. And he was offered lots of money for it. But no, he liked that car being in the driveway and looking at it. He couldn't let it go. And so pretty soon, the bills got away from him. And he lost some things, including his house. So then there was, when he got into this new little apartment thing that he could afford and he moved in there, well, by now he's really old. He could not keep up with cleaning the house and doing different things that needed to be done. And so there were a lot of people, women who offered, me included, to come over once a week and clean house for him. But no, he didn't really like having other people in his house. He had to figure out some other way of how this house was going to be clean. You get where I'm going? And yeah, this is a true story. I can even remember his name still. And I'm trying very hard not to say it. I mean, he's been long gone for a long time, but still. Life had always been a certain way for he and his wife. And that's how they wanted it to go, even when it wasn't working out, even when it was causing problems, even, whatever was going on. They just wanted it to stay the same. But that didn't work. And they just, she lost her life. He lost the house. Because they would not accept the fact that things needed to change. Now, I used to just feel so frustrated with them because it's like, just make these little changes and everything will be okay. And, but to them, they weren't little changes. They were their whole world. Now, I've never been a smoker, so I don't understand what that kind of, being hooked on something like that is. But I do have my own issues. For me, it has usually been over the years, my calendar getting too full and being too committed to too many things to where there is no time to just stop and rest or just think or, I'm really good at doing that, at overextending myself. And then it's like, well, something's got to go. You've got to give up something. But I don't want to give up anything because I'm either doing it because I enjoy it or because somebody expects me to do it. That's a big one. I feel responsible for other people's things in life. And it just doesn't work. And then eventually it all comes crashing in on me and I have to give something up. So I'm sharing this with you because I want to just kind of talk about this for a few minutes today. You see, when I was a counselor, one of the things before I was an old person, that they would tell us about old people is that change is very difficult for the elderly, is what they used to say, or for older people. And when change starts happening, it's devastating, like a death to them, and they will even grieve. It's just very hard, almost impossible. You know what? Now I am, according to the United States government, I'm elderly. And and some days I'll tell you I feel elderly. But I'm an older adult. And yes, change is not welcome. It is a very difficult thing for me. The older I get, the more difficult it is. And so that means when things aren't working the way they are now, and I know I need to make some kind of a change, and change usually involves some kind of sacrifice or loss, because you can't keep everything the way it is. It also means learning something new, which I used to love to learn new things. Not anymore. Marvin had said something to me today about, something that might need to change. And I might, instead of being able to take care of this thing in person, I might have to learn how to do it online. Oh, no, go wash your mouth out with some soap. No, technology really throws me, and having to do things online, and then sometimes the internet's slow or it's down, or I can't make it do what I need it to do, or find where I need to be, or what was my password, and even though I've got them written down, where did I put it? And you guys, it is extremely stressful for me, to the point some days I'm like, I just wish I had somebody that would take care of certain things for me and I didn't even have to think about it. But that's not life. Life is, I got to do what I got to do. This year, we got our little raise on Social Security, which was very little this year. And then prices went up on things. And so even though everything was like hanging in there, we were only like $20 a month short for our bills with Social Security, because we live on very little, happily, by choice. But when everything went up suddenly in one day, it was like between $300 and $400 a month that we suddenly are short for each check, which means you got to go out and make it. I mean, we still have a little bit of, no, well, I do have Marvin's. It's already gone, his retirement. And they weren't that much because we both were forced into retirement earlier than what we had planned. So our retirements weren't set up quite to where we wanted them to be. But even then, we didn't know the kind of inflation that we have faced. And I'm not supposed to say that word. It gets you tagged. But anyway, red flagged, whatever. Might as well just put a red flag on me. All right. So now, I have just very little bit left. I mean, very, very little, like it'll do so many weeks and it's gone. But so that means we have to find other ways to make up that difference, which is fine. I mean, Marvin's got a little side business, but then when everything broke down and we've been a long time without having some of the income that we normally would have, and yeah, you know what? It's meant, well, if there's something else we can give up, I guess we need to give it up. There's something we need to, we've got to let go of things that maybe we wanted to hang on to. And, and maybe you can, put it back in later, or maybe not, whatever. I mean, I kind of find when we get rid of something, we learn to live without it and we're actually better off. So anyway, God takes care of us. So don't you be worried about us. I'm just saying that life happens and we keep getting older. So when I was, let's say 40, having to take care of the things I take care of now, it had been a piece of cake. But now, it's hard. And every night when I'm done with the day, I'll go, well, I got some things done. Not as much as I needed to. Not everything I wanted to. I mean, I used to post a video every single day. And here lately, that hasn't been happening. Well, guys, because there's only so many hours in a day, and there's been other things that have come up. And some days, let me tell you, in the beginning, every time a day would come and I didn't have a video to put up, it stressed me out like I was doing something wrong and I was failing. And, and I've had to really talk to myself that it's okay. There will be times when those days will happen. And then there may be days when I can make 2 videos and put, schedule some for in advance. I don't know. Thankfully, this is about what God gives me, not me trying to figure it out. So that takes a lot of pressure off of me, but puts the pressure on God and he can handle it. But the thing is, as I'm getting older, I struggle a little more to do everything that I used to do. Some things I can't do. I finally got my stove, okay? Plain Jane, most inexpensive stove you can buy. Does not have a clock in it, does not have a timer, nothing special. And just the plain Jane. Well, when it got here and it got hooked up and they showed me that See, this is like my mama's stove when I was growing up. It's like Marvin's mama's stove when he was growing up. That bottom drawer, that we're used to like storing pots and pans in. No, this is like the old ones. And it is a broiler. That's where my broiler is down in the bottom. It's a very narrow space that you have to slide something in there. And that's the only place you can broil on the stove. But that is down like on the floor. Okay, at well over 60 years of age, looking at 70, coming on the horizon here in a few years, getting down there to the floor and putting something in there and taking it out, like how would I even clean that out? Physically, it's a challenge. So I'm like, I probably won't be using that broiler. Now I've got daughters that come to visit, and and if they want to use the broiler and lean down, but you know what? Our daughters are even pushing 50. They're getting up there, and I'm not sure how well they can do it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But things that at one time I would have thought, oh, that's so cool. Can't really do it now. Doesn't really work for me because I have limitations. So I have to limit stuff. Maybe you're a little overwhelmed right now because things are not working for you. Maybe it's your bills. Maybe there's not enough money to pay the bills, but you don't want to give anything up. But the truth is, you may have to. And a smart person would do it sooner than later so you don't lose something in the process. Maybe your schedule, like mine, is too full, but you feel obligated or enjoy everything on that schedule. But you guys, the only answer is to cut it out. You see, we tried to come up with a solution that means we don't have to change anything, and it is impossible because sometimes change is the only answer. You hear me? So, and change comes with sacrifice and loss. So if you're at that place where somewhere in your life it's not working out and you have to make a change, and people, they'll tell you, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And what do we do? Oh, well, that won't work because of this. Well, that won't work because of, I am so good at that. But the truth is, doesn't work for me because I don't want to change anything. But yet, this isn't working. And if I don't make a change, and I don't make a change soon, something ugly is going to happen. So if you're at that place where you're on that threshold that change needs to happen, I'm just going to give you a little Grandma Angie advice, a little piece of wisdom. It's inevitable. It is necessary. So the sooner you figure out what you're going to let go or what you're going to do different, the better off you'll be, and you'll be fine. We always are. Once we are either forced into the change or give up, and go ahead and give into it, and we get things back where they need to be, we're okay. I remember Marvin and I tried to hold on to cable TV for the longest time, and that price kept going up until it was so ridiculous and it was impossible, and we had to go cancel it. Now, back then, it's been a while. When you had cable, it was in all your rooms. Now, I think they charge you, like they'll do so many rooms, and anything over that, you pay extra. But anyway, our house has cable into every room, including bathrooms, all right? And there was a TV in every room, including bathrooms. And so you could turn the news on all those channels so that if you were walking through the house or whatever, you didn't have to miss a thing. You guys, it was crazy. And so we finally had to give up cable. Now, this was several years ago. We are just now getting rid of all those TVs that have continued to sit in the house. And we're down to, I think we still have two up. One that we have hooked up, that we watch stuff on the internet on. And the other one, I mean, we're just down. We just need one TV for that. We have a TV room. That's where we'll watch it, letting all the others go. But yeah, I am going to be the first to get in line and tell you I am very resistant to change, but it's necessary. And as these TVs are coming down and it's making room for other things like more seating or whatever, yeah, the house is actually getting more comfortable, a little easier to keep picked up or whatever. I'm adjusting. And what I, in the very beginning, felt like, oh no, what'll we do? I'm embracing it and I'm starting to love it. And that is what I want to remind you of today, because I know that's how it always ends up. You know, I don't like the change in the beginning, but I adjust to it and it turns out so much better than it was before. So don't put it off. Figure it out and do it. So with that, it doesn't matter that I'm using a smaller coffee cup today. I need to not make more than one pot of coffee each day. And then I need to just stop. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I'm going to go work on that. All right. I love you guys. I love hearing from you. Thank you, Kim. Oh, I got just the most wonderful email today from my 53rd subscriber, I believe it is, Kim. And I just love her to death, but she was sharing with me some of the things that God's done in her life. And yeah, it blessed me to tears today. It really did. So I love when you guys get hold of me and you let me know what's going on. Yeah, in the description of this video, you will find my email address and my snail mail address. Good old United States Post Office. So that, or drop me a comment. And yeah, thank you. I know I've got some new subscribers. Welcome to the Coffee in the Chat family. I love all of you guys so much, and I pray that your day is as blessed as mine. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye.